for driving business.
Step 1. To buy, dial star 292 hash. Step 2. Select buy. Step 3. Select the product you would like to buy. For example, bonds. Step 4. Select your preferred maturity year. Step 5. Select the bond you would like to buy. Step 6. Input an amount of 15,000 Uganda.
Actually do that within those hours. And of course, Altex East Africa says do something new. Zabu. Money, my money, my future. Yes, as I've told you, today is a beautiful morning. I am excited and always glad. And of course, I'm joined with Andrew Barija here with me. And we're here to take you till 9:55 a.m. Aren't you always glad to be with us? We are definitely glad to be with you. Of course, starting off with our morning call, we have something interesting actually. Last week actually we had Africa, the Russia-Africa summit that took place between 27th and 28th of July 2023, and of course there are very many aspects that were shared, and of course we are really glad that out of that we had the Makerere and Russian University to collaborate in science and techno education. What a good initiative for the two countries to share knowledge and of course expand. For us, Uganda, it's an opportunity for us to know much about science and of course expand our knowledge when it comes to technology. Now, the Vice Chancellor of Makerere University, Barnabas, I must have to say his title is right. That is Professor Barnabas Nawangwe was actually met with Ambassador Vladelan of Russia, an ambassador to Uganda, and of course they were having talks about how they can share knowledge between the two universities, that is between Makerere University and of course the Russian universities as well. And now this comes in a wake of several agreements of cooperation at Makerere and other universities inked during the second Russian-African Economic and Humanitarian Forum. And the forum took place at the same time as the presidents were having their own summit. This actually was also transpiring. That was between 27th and 28th of July. And of course, in the Russian second largest city, that is in St. Petersburg, Russia. Now, the two-day gathering, a summit of the 17 leaders of state, including Uganda president. In addition to the summit, sideline events, including those concerned with technology and agriculture, took place. And that is where we had our very own, the Vice Chancellor of Makerere University, Professor Barnabas Nawangwe. And of course, in an interview, he said that the summit, through the various sections, he had been able to connect with numerous Russian universities and other organizations to sign agreements for knowledge exchange in variety of programs with the primary focus on science and technology education. Why science and technology education? Because we're evolving. We are in a world of technology, so definitely we have to be well equipped with knowledge because we are changing our skills, you know, the skills we used to know, hand skills that we are changing. We're in an era of digital, we're in an era of technology, so definitely you have to have software training, you have to have programming training, so definitely that is a good initiative. I believe the Makerere University is trying to bring on board so that we can have knowledge, if we can share, we can learn from each other. And of course, he said that Russia is one of the most scientifically advanced countries from which we can learn from. And of course, they signed several agreements with institutions and organizations that do things like space exploration. Wow, interesting right there. And agricultural practices, especially the fertility of the soils. Why? Because our soils are losing their fertility. We are no longer producing the produces that we used to produce, because definitely we are using fertilizers, we're using a lot of intoxicants that are affecting the soil. So definitely this is a good initiative. And of course, wow, and of course Russian to be taught at Makerere University. Wow, yet another language for you to be interested in if you're interested to learn the language. So definitely it's going to be incorporated in Makerere University. So the professor said that Makerere is already working with Russia to help Ugandans learn Russian, particularly those who wanted to study and work in Russia. Now, he further said that now you can study at Russian at Makerere University. We have already started that. They do not have to study the language the whole year in Russia, but they have to embark on their courses. So it's going to be a partially thing. Just like you have fundamental courses, or maybe you have like Kiswahili in most universities, and maybe like Uganda Christian universities have those languages. So if you want to study or go ahead and work in Russia, it's an opportunity for you to go for a course and of course learn a word or two so that it becomes easier for you to blend in with the Russians right there. And of course, that is what we managed to have for you in this morning call. And of course, the collaboration between Makerere and the Russian universities right there, giving us a huge opportunity for us to advance in our learning when it comes to science and technology. Well, I'm joined with Andrew Barije, and good morning, Andrew.
Morning, Mercy. How are you?
I'm very good. It's a beautiful morning, showers of rain. Wow, yeah, what a blessed day. I usually consider it a blessing when it rains in the morning.
Yeah, it could be. I mean, depending on what. It's just about opinion. I mean, what people think, it's perception. It's perception about that. But anyway, it's great that we're having the rains back. It's been quite some long months when it comes to, you know, sunshine and all those related aspects. But despite all that, we're here to drive your business as we bring you that.
Are you ready to learn Russian? Because they're going to be offering it at Makerere University. You know, it could be, if you're a linguistic person, you could add it right there on your list of languages.
Yeah, I mean, it's not bad. If somebody can study, but for me, it's not a best option I'll think about.
French, Spanish, you know.
Spanish, but I'm okay with English actually. I don't really mind.
But you know, English cuts across. English cuts across really globally.
Yeah, yes. Everyone can speak English, so sometimes I don't find myself having a reason to learn French, all this. But anyway, I don't stop people from learning it. If you get a chance and opportunity to study, do it. But it's just my opinion. It's just my opinion. I'm not saying people should do that. That's just my opinion. Now let's get straight and see what's happening in the press here. It's exactly 17 minutes past 7. And according to the look of things here, on the top page, we see something to do with inside the 1.3 trillion Ugandan shillings for the 2026 polls budget. That's according to the Election Commission. Give me the budget, 1.3 trillion that they need to actually to put up the elections, you know, for 2026. So there is a breakdown of that inside to get into understand.
2026 elections.
Yeah.
Wow. In just a few years from now, we just left with only 2 years to make sure. You know, people have already started campaigning for themselves already. Those in villages. and parties and weddings, and they throw away, too. Anyway, in the visions, in the new vision, still it's almost the same. Projected to increase to 42,000 from 34,684. So definitely it's an increase of over 1,000 poll stations, which is, I mean, it's going to be easier. It's going to ease the election. I mean, when you election sites and points, and of course, EC releases election roadmap, and of course, 101 arrested after diplomat's phone was stolen. Quite an interesting story. If you want to know who was arrested, please, you can see your people right there. It could be and you did not know they're into these things, so definitely. Then Kabaka Mutebi shakes up cabinet, and of course land board, and of course yes, that is it. That is just what is. And of course, in the international scene, why Japan foreign minister is visiting Uganda.
Okay. Of course, now back here to the new vision, we can see UNB's tax action against the vectors. You can check them out, and of course, for the people being put on the road, it's quite dangerous. Why do we have vectors? We know what the repercussions can actually be. Okay, then as I proceed.
Ooh, this is quite interesting. Internet costs lowered by 50%.
Okay. Interesting.
Yes.
There. And MPs probe ghost fuel cuts at Trade Ministry. According to the look of things here, Health Ministry pushes for 6-month maternity leave. And what next for travel the FDC? It's one of the questions that are being asked.
Yes, it's quite interesting stories for those that are involved in politics.
And landlords killed in Rango, as they can see here. And the Kabaka reshuffles the cabinet. Oh, interesting. And find that out. And government to sponsor 6,000 students that are going to be sponsored. And more than 90% of the scholarships will go to students studying in sciences.
Vocational bursaries. Anyway, it's good actually, because vocational institutions are more focused on hard work and of course skills.
Yeah, of course, hands-on.
Hands-on and practical.
It's what the world is adapting.
Yes,
Yeah.
but are we? Anyway, you could have the hands-on thing, you have the practical, but then there is much more skill. That you could have a business, but then you need more skill in your business. Analytics, problem solving, those are skills we need, which we do not really problem solving. And of course, government, like I told you, government has costs of internet, and of course the government has significantly brought down the cost of consuming government generated internet in Uganda by cutting its price to half. Now it will now cost $35. That is 127,000 to consume a megabyte per month. Wow. Those that buy in bulk.
Very, very interesting. And of course, there is something here to do with real estate. See homes are experts here. Of course, when you should use a stair runner, you get to find out that information, how effectively that works out very well. And we see some aspect here in the real estate section. There is a question actually that is being posed here. That is the security deposit nothing but a big scam that is for the landlords.
And of course, here in the vision, national budget gives the worst and best performing sectors. So if you're in any sector, you can come and evaluate yourself, how you have performed. If you're in the worst, pull up your stockings. If you're performing well, then definitely keep up the good work, which is actually good, so that it is good to evaluate, so that we know exactly how we are, where we should invest in as much. So if you see a sector is definitely not performing that well, that means you have to look for alternative means. And of course, when it comes to money, accounting, so, very many loopholes right there. And of course, Ministry of Trade names ghost fuel card holders. This story was actually on Monday. I think it's a follow-up. It's a follow-up. And of course, alternative routes provided as KCCA closes roads for repair. The road work has started, people, those that have been anticipating and waiting for the road work to start. There you go. If your route is diverted, just know they're working on it. And of course, I'm seeing Ampala Roads, KCCA and Monday provided alternative routes for motorists after most of them were left stranded following the closure of Nakawa Port Bell, a road for 2 weeks to allow for the installation of drainage culverts. For our friends right there at Nakawa Port, I think you've already discovered the route to use, the easier route to use, so that you can get to your place of work or whatever business you're into. So this is good work, and we expect more and more to be. And of course, Mulago ready to conduct kidney transplants. Yes, for those that have been struggling, looking out for surgeons that can handle surgeries when it comes to implant, that is there for you.
All right, now the images we observe are coming in from that must be clock tower, and you can see the situation it being quite.
It's dark and it's the clouds are heavy. Pregnant, like they say, pregnant with water, rain.
Absolutely. So you can see for the people that are coming in from Kasanga, Kabalagala, Gawa Road, that is it. You can see, I think, that's the road that is heading towards Zambia. I can see that. So you can see, but it seems to be like it's quite free. It's not congested. I'm not seeing quite very many vehicles. The fact that I think it started raining quite very early. Sometimes people delay the movement, so that way we see the jam mild in that perspective. So I'm surprised to see a tropical freezer on a rainy day here. Sometimes it's not really that much popular as such, as we take a look. Yeah, so if you're coming in from those areas, you can definitely see that it's quite very free. So you get a set up and report to the different required destination, despite the fact that we see that happening in here and in there. Gaba Road is okay coming in from maybe for the people that are staying in a little bit far away from that area. Well, the area we're observing might be probably a little bit influenced. I'm talking about Bonga, people coming in from those areas, Yeah, but generally, and because this is a place known to have quite a number of pedestrians, people using the road, many of them, hundreds of thousands of them, coming in here. But now since it's raining, there are few, and that is partly a reason that's why you can see this area like that, areas around Wasafi coming in there, it's all just, well, today it's much more common. We probably think people are going to resume their duties at the later hours of the day, probably in the next 1.5 hours for business to really be as usual. Yeah, so the rains came, but anyway, it wasn't a surprise. We literally seem to be heading into the months where the rains fall, August, September, November, and of course, So
it's a season of having raincoats and umbrellas ready in your bag. Anytime it can rain on you, so definitely get yourself, for the ladies most especially, to not get your clothes wet or your hair. Most that is what they worry about. But of course, when it's raining, usually there is a lot of traffic. There's a bit of traffic because The roads are slippery, and of course you have to go easy.
Yeah, sometimes it depends
road.
on the time it rains. Because it started raining early in the night, so people didn't set off that much early. If it sets off like at around 6:30, 7 sharp, that's why congestion is massive. Because already people have found the vehicle already moving. But once it rains early in the night like this did, yeah, it could have been common. There wasn't really much congestion in the different areas. I'm not surprised to see this still just about here. Well, it's 28 minutes past 7, and that is it for the traffic updates. And well, Caribbean West Africa. Good morning.